Hello, welcome to our webinar, 2017, How to Earn $100,000 in Additional Revenue by Asking One Simple Question. Today we have with us Pike Goss. Pike is the president and CEO of Pedestal Pro, a Utah-based manufacturing company specializing in pedestals or mounting solutions for security and access control professionals. He is a graduate of Brigham Young University with a BA in Communications and has served as the marketing director for two telecommunications companies and one audio systems manufacturer prior to beginning his own company. He has coached soccer for 13 years and currently serves as a AAA soccer coach with 12-year-old boys team ranked in the top 10 out of 234 teams in the state of Utah. He lives in Alpine, Utah with his wife and 4 children. When mounting access control devices, a non-wall environment, you are faced with special challenges. Learn about the easiest solutions and how to drive extra revenue from these opportunities without much effort. Learn how to use these pressures of time, or lack thereof, to beat your competition and favor your customers. See for your own eyes 999 quick combinations available at your fingertips, and introduce yourself to a powerful customization service that can help you target and woo premium clients. You need to know these secrets and why you might be missing sales opportunities today that can be easily captured by participating in this year's first PSA training webinar, sponsored by Pedestal Pro. My name is Julie Rolls. I am the training specialist with PSA Security Network, and I will be moderating this call today. I have just a few quick housekeeping items before I hand it over to Pike. First, if you have not already done so, please mute yourself. If you happen to have any questions throughout the course of this presentation, please type them into the chat panel, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end of this presentation. Additionally, if you happen to have any technical difficulties, chat will also be monitored, and we'll do our best to get you back up and running should you run into any problems. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Pike.
Thank you, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. We thank everybody who's attending. We're very excited about this PSA relationship with Pedestal Pro. Today we have 3 presenters to you, and we'll take about 20 to 25 minutes giving you the information that we prepared. So to begin with, I'd like to turn the time over to Glenn Grosbeck, who's helping me manage this new PSA relationship. Glenn?
Thank you, Pike. My first goal was to just land in the chair when we made the transition. I've safely done so, so we'll go ahead and continue with the presentation. A pleasure to be with you. We're excited for the opportunity to work with you. Today we want to talk about 5 challenges that face installers everywhere, and see if we can't come up with some ideas of ways to address some of those challenges. All right, one technical difficulty. We're just going to click with the mouse. There's a false assumption in the industry that says that all access control solutions are sold and installed in areas where, as in wall applications, but the reality is in many situations that's not true. In fact, the very existence of our company will confirm that. In many cases, they're being installed where there is no wall, and so how do we address that specific challenge? To figure out what the needs are, it's important that we ask the right questions. And in this case, the question that we need to ask is, how am I going to mount the device where there's no wall? So it's important to understand that we recognize that our product, pedestals in general, are probably a less interesting component. It happens to be one of the last components on the project, and perhaps is even an afterthought, but it is part of the sale nonetheless. And so we want to encourage you as installers to ask the questions early and identify what those particular pedestal needs are long before someone's saying, we need this done and we need it done yesterday. So we need to identify what those possible applications are. And in this first example, we give a variety of different scenarios and possibilities for pedestal usage in an outdoor environment, including the following: entrances, sidewalks, parking lots, gate access, rooftops, and perimeters. All of these represent opportunities and needs for pedestal type applications. In an indoor environment, as we see in this visual aid, we've got a need at entrances, exits, and a lot of different lobby applications. So again, we need to ask the question, where am I going to mount that device if there is no wall? The second challenge that we want to talk about is combining disparate devices if they do need to be mounted on a pedestal in some type of a housing. The reality is each of these devices have their own individual and proprietary hole patterns, shapes, sizes, and finding what those are can be a challenge. Finding the best way to install them, whether it be side by side or over and under with their disparate sizes, can also be a challenge. And so figuring that out in advance, again, will be well worth the time. I want to just give one example that installers might face as it relates to these types of challenges. This particular example includes a long-range proximity reader installed next to a door station. If we look at a proximity reader, they're about 12 inches square. They're a surface mount application, and they don't like to be installed on metal. By installing them on metal, it actually limits their read range from somewhere over 20 inches down to somewhere less than 9 inches. A door station, on the other hand, is about 6 inches by 10 inches. It looks best installed as a flush mount application, and it doesn't have an issue of being installed on metal. But as you look at those two, with their unique characteristics and what their needs are, you can probably pick up on the fact that there are going to be some challenges, so that we can make sure that they get installed in a way that they work effectively. The third challenge that we want to identify is that of finding quality solutions. Actually, Mother Nature necessitates the need for a quality product so it can withstand the test of time. And to illustrate that, I want to look at some applications, perhaps somewhat humorous in nature, but just to give you an idea of the types of installations that are out there. The first one we have illustrated here is installed at a courthouse. And if you look at this one, you see that this housing is protecting a single intercom system, the intercom taking about half of that housing space. Looking closely at the base plate, you see a large base plate with exposed bolts, a significant amount of rusting, and as we travel up to the housing itself, we see the paint flaking off of that particular housing. If you were the client here, would you be happy with the look and feel of this product, not to mention the cost that you may pay for a housing that's twice the size that needs to be? Another example here is a dual height application. This is installed somewhere in Atlanta. I think you'd probably agree that the flex conduit here and the wire dangling from the faceplate are a bit of an eyesore. They did manage to get it all painted an electrical gray, but you can see a significant amount of rusting on this one. The next one is a pedestal and housing installed at a police station at a city center. Here we see a pedestal that's painted yellow and then a housing that's black and gray. You will note that they did combine multiple devices here. What I like the best is that state-of-the-art placard they have integrated into this one. The next one, this is an in-ground mount. In fact, you'll notice a little bit of leaning there. Unlike the previous one that had a pretty small pedestal, this one has quite a large pedestal. We see a keypad mounted on the front, and then perched on top of the pedestal itself is a junction box, and on top of that is a camera. We see an array of colors: black, taupe, gray, white. Kind of a unique application. I'm not really sure what to say about this one. This one is installed at a mansion in Maryland. A little bit humorous, but an example of the type of thing that we see out there. I'm sure they could afford something better. It was nice for us to be able to use it as an example of hopefully what you don't want it to look like. The last one I'll show here, this one is installed at a food processing plant in Ohio. We see a tiny pedestal leg. It's about 1.5 inches, and a fairly large housing. The housing over the top, or the hood over the top, doesn't really protect a lot. We've got various devices there installed. Due to a faulty powder coating job, I suspect we see a significant amount of rusting and paint flaking off of this one. So these installers had to work pretty hard to bring together this bouquet of different pedestal types. I think it would be hard to choose which of these is the worst installation, but this is reality. This is an example of the type of installations that we see out there. Is there a better solution? The fact of the matter is there really aren't any industry standards that govern the quality of these pedestal installations. And so sometimes, even regardless of our best efforts, we end up with something that might be less than adequate for the particular need. For example, here's a couple. I think they probably tried pretty hard to get something right. Looking at this particular pedestal that's installed at a parking lot, I think you'd probably guess, based on the amount of paint that's flaking off, that this might be 5-10 years old. The reality is this installation is about 6 months old. Again, we see that base plate with exposed bolts. A significant amount of paint has begun to peel off. The pedestal itself is losing a lot of paint, and the housing. Wow, it's probably half the paint has already come off of that housing. It's a very small housing overhang, very little protection for the components there. Another one here, we've got an 88 pedestal, a gray pedestal with exposed bolts there at the base, already beginning to rust. As we travel up the pedestal, we see a black plastic cap with exposed bolts. Again, if you were trying to promote this to your premium customers, do you think they would be happy with this type of a solution? I'm going to turn the time back over to Pike to identify challenges 4 and 5, and then introduce you to Pedestal Pro and hopefully some solutions that will give you options to provide a better solution to your customers. Pike?
Thanks, Glenn. The 4th challenge is really about finding somebody who's going to help you. I mean, seriously, when you come up with pedestal applications and opportunities, who are you going to call to get pricing and availability? Matter of fact, this question is so problematic. We've actually heard that installers are simply building their pedestals in the field, on location. They're cutting their tube, they're cutting out their flatware, they're welding, they're spray painting, etc. And this usually results in the kinds of problems that Glenn has just introduced. Another way that installers are attempting to address these needs is to use local fabricators. This option actually requires a significant amount of management on your part to get the product designed and fabricated the way that you need. There's usually a pretty high cost associated with this low volume request that you'll usually put in. The fabricator has to fit you into their queue, which usually won't match your timeline. Based on our experience and what we hear, local fabricators can be anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. We don't feel like it needs to be that way. The quality and the service oftentimes is unpredictable since they've never built something like this. And since they don't have any industry experience, sometimes it's a hard time for them to relate to you and the problems that you're trying to solve. A third option that you have is to use other industry manufacturers. We're talking about some bigger name brands that you would be familiar with in the industry. But they only focus on their access control or security devices, not necessarily the pedestal component. Because of that reason, these suppliers have very few choices. They will sell you pedestals that have their proprietary hole patterns. They can't or don't offer customization. They consider the pedestals really an accessory only. And because of that reason, they kind of treat this whole product category with a lack of seriousness. And so this option, as a third option, really doesn't meet the needs of installers as well. So that brings us to our 5th challenge, which really it talks to us about time being of the essence. And by timing, we mean fast quoting just as much as we mean fast production or fast installation. From the stories that we hear, installers suffer a great deal because of the time pressures that are put on them. And so we thought we would sort of tell you the story of what we hear from installers. If we were to wrap all this up into a short story, this is what it might sound like. You've just been made aware of a building project that requires access control devices on pedestals, and the project's behind schedule. How far behind? Well, their certificate of occupancy was needed yesterday. You're at a disadvantage because you're the last one on the scene and the pressure is on. There are multiple devices to install at several entry-exit locations. And now the question, where do you get the pedestals? You've received some architectural engineering drawings, but they're vague and they don't offer a lot of the detail that you need to make the pedestals. So considerations like how high, how long the reach needs to be for the necks, the colors, the gauge of the steel, and even more details really need to be addressed. And you really don't have time to try to solve these problems yourself. So you use your non-business hours, sometimes in your PJs, to search the internet and look for a quick solution. The only readily available items that you find are standard black posts, and that's not what you're hoping for. You now consider using a local fabricator, but seriously, where do you start with them? So to get something done, you start to spec it out yourself, and you begin expediting everything that you can through a fabricator, which costs a lot more than what's needed, including both dollars and in stress, and your confidence in taking care of the customer is really in question. So that brings us to who we are here at Pedestal Pro. Matter of fact, this is our category space, obviously, meaning we specialize in non-wall mounting solutions in the security industry, and we do it better than anyone else. We are a professional manufacturer, and we really do pride ourselves in helping the installer. We have more than 250,000 pedestal installations around the world. Some have called us, and this is a quote, the best kept secret in the industry. From parking lots to lobbies to perimeters, we've seen it all. Matter of fact, some of the biggest names that you'll recognize in commerce have our products located at their facilities. And as you can see, some of our high-profile customers include Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Disney, GE, and include all the military branches, the Department of Defense, and Homeland Security. We even have pedestals located at the Lucille Ball Museum in New York City, the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., and countless schools and universities everywhere. We pride ourselves in providing pedestal solutions that allow you to conveniently and cost-effectively combine all the devices that you need. But we do that simultaneously with boosting your quality and giving you better profitability. This example shows how we've helped in an industrial setting that needed truck access. This stainless steel solution incorporates 3 different devices, a keypad, a camera, and a call station. And we even added that little LED light strip at the bottom of the door panel that you can see right there for nighttime identification. This example shows a simple parking lot installation with a card reader and a door station. Notice that no bolts are in view, there's no rust, there's good symmetry, the weight of the pedestal is heavy enough where it matches the weight of the housing, good quality. Here we've created solutions to mount 2 different door stations, an Access or an A-phone door station next to HID's long-range card reader, one in a safety yellow environment and the other one in a truck height environment using stainless steel. This goes back to answering the question that Glenn had earlier of how would you combine a long-range reader with a door station. And so this is a good example how clean it could be. And lastly, this pedestal was built for pedestrian access on a sidewalk. This same pedestal has also been helpful in mounting card readers, handicap actuators, entry-exit buttons, even biometric readers, and more. And we think that these few examples contrast pretty well with the examples that Glenn showed us earlier. When we began years ago, there were only 3 major pedestal models that were easily obtainable. We've led the industry since then by introducing new stock models every year. Our current inventory contains more than 80 models off the shelf that you can have tomorrow morning if you order today. And each of these are made with heavy gauge steel, universal faceplates, cover plates for the bolts, rust inhibitors before we put on an outdoor polyester powder coating. They're packaged with the carriage bolt hardware, and they're boxed to guarantee safe arrival. This little image shows 4 models in our 36-inch tall category. Our 42-inch category has the most choices with 9 different models, including low profile, white, yellow, aluminum, stainless steel, and even a side-by-side mount. 42 inches happens to be the most popular category because it's the most typical for car height and pedestrian height. We have 7 models ranging from 44 to 53 inches, mostly to handle telephone entry systems, but again with universal faceplates, cover plates, and the features that we talked about earlier. And depending on the model and your needs, we can use 2-inch tube, 3-inch tube, or 4-inch square tubes, all with heavy-duty wall thicknesses of 1/8 of an inch. We have 3 58-inch tall units immediately available. These are typically used for SUV height. We have 3 similar models at 64 inches for slightly taller SUVs, but also for small delivery and box trucks. We have 5 72-inch models that are popular for buses, dump trucks, semi-trucks, etc. However, as our height chart will show you in an upcoming slide, semi-truck windows average 98 inches to their center. So these 72-inch models allow the mirror of the semi-truck to actually clear the pedestal as it passes. We have 2 84-inch models to accommodate a taller request for semi-truck installations. These would require a semi-truck driver to pull his mirror back before approaching the pedestal. But at least you have access from stock inventory on 72-inch and 84-inch models. We also have multiple in-ground, or what we call wet cement mount pedestals. 2 years ago, we launched the industry's prettiest stainless steel bollard, made for entry-exit buttons, card readers, and more, with special features such as its tapered top, mirrored edges, a beautiful brush number 4 finish, and hidden fasteners. It's become a very attractive piece for premium clients. Matter of fact, in less than 24 months, it's become our 6th best seller, and many people in the industry don't understand that these are off the shelf or they could be easily customizable. They're available in 4x4 inch post configurations or 6x4 rectangular post configurations. The former tower sold so well, we announced a new set of 5-inch round stainless towers, including features such as either a flat top, a tapered top. You can get them with an alcove with a removable faceplate, or a long 14-inch faceplate that's also removable. But these will be off the shelf and available here this upcoming month, March 2017, and they're completely customizable for you. After getting excited about the new 5-inch round, we couldn't help ourselves, and so we scheduled the launch of a new elliptical-shaped pedestal family as well. These are available in the same configurations and will be available in Q2 of 2017. We had to purchase some special equipment to handle the elliptical-shaped tubes. But again, now elliptical will be off the shelf or fully customizable for you. Speaking of quality, our pedestals have a 1/4 inch thick, all of our pedestals have 1/4 inch thick base plates, and based on our 3D model testing, they withstand a sustained hurricane-force winds of 200 miles an hour. We also have the world's largest inventory of hoods and housings ready for sale, and they're specifically meant for access control and security installations. There's a few housings out there that are available that are meant for the electrical contractor, but these are made for you. Meaning, they have 3 1/4 inch back boxes. They have 3.5-inch overhangs. They all have stainless steel hinges, including our steel versions of boxes. They all are treated with outdoor pretreatments, rust inhibitors, and polyester outdoor powder coating. They use military-grade EPDM rubber, which will not deteriorate in the weather, and they're all rated NEMA 4X. And also, you guessed it, they're all fully customizable. If you wanted a 4-inch or even a 6-inch back box or a deeper overhang, we can accommodate all those requests. In essence, you get to specify where you want your devices, and we have an extensive library already of the dimensions of the devices and the hole patterns that we need to make sure that we get it right. So that whether they're housings or pedestals, they arrive on location exactly how you need them for an easy installation. We also have a few accessories which makes mounting devices pretty easy. These include a 1-inch thick high-density polyethylene buffer plate for long-range readers in case you need to put them on steel, retrofitting plates, a fantastic handicap access button that lights up with blue LEDs, bolt kits, extension arms, etc. Now I'm going to, having talked about the off-the-shelf models, I'm going to go ahead and turn this time over to Zach Garrett, who's going to talk about our customization. Zach?
Thanks, Pike. Among our strengths, we try to keep customer service at #1. Because of this, we've implemented a custom design and build program. To take advantage of it, we just need a few things from you. First, we need you to call us and tell us about the application and the devices that you plan to use. We'll give you a ballpark number while you're on the phone. After that, you'll get an immediate email with a quote and the description. At this point, there are no strings attached and no commitment required. After that, within 48 hours, we'll give you a 3D model design to present to your customer. Again, no strings attached, but we give you unlimited revisions on these drawings in case your customer wants to change anything. After that, we just need you to get a final approval from your customer, and then we can start building it. We most often need 8 to 10 business days to get it shipped. A week or so after that, we'll give you a phone call to verify your satisfaction, make sure everything went well. All of this is to prove that we are serious about serving your quoting needs and your customer service needs. We also give you this height chart. We've actually physically measured on a number of different makes and models, the bottom of the window, the center of the window, and the top of the window. The powder coating colors that are most readily available are black, white, and yellow. However, if you search for any RAL color code, we can typically match it. Obviously, this adds to the lead time, but it's a huge value to a customer that wants to match their building or the surroundings. And the materials that are available are stainless steel, including marine-grade stainless and aluminum. All right, this slide is an example of some custom work that we did for the airport in Portland. This particular job did not meet the 8 to 10 day lead time that I previously talked about because of the endless revisions, but when everything was decided, this is what we ended up with. Everything had 3/4 inch base plates, everything had access holes on the sides for wiring, and everything had a hot dip galvanizing treatment to ensure longevity. This was an $80,000 pedestal job. Depending on your markup, this could mean an extra $24,000 to $40,000 in profits. Keep in mind, with all the revisions and the months of work that went into this, there was no commitment on their part until the initial design was approved and they placed their order. This is a job we did for a high-rise in Philadelphia. In this particular instance, the building had towers existing already, but the devices that had been initially installed were starting to fail, and the customer couldn't find anything to fit in the cutouts that they had, so we were building replacements. This is shown with an HID car reader and a Stentaphone intercom. As you can see, the overall design turned out quite nice. The devices were flush mounted in an 8.5 inch round stainless pipe with perfectly radius corners, mirrored edges, and we had a machined and brushed finish, and it also had a removable top cap. If you take an even closer look, you can see that we really pride ourselves in quality, and you can appreciate the craftsmanship. This job also had several rounds of revisions before they were happy. Again, no commitment was required until they placed the initial order. This job was worth $260,000 in pedestals alone. If you remember in the beginning, Glenn talked about how asking the right questions about pedestals can be a real opportunity. These are just a few examples, but don't worry, we do custom jobs for $300 or $400 as well. There's no job too large or too small. All right, this is some work that we've done for Butterfly, Butterfly MX. The company that they were using prior to finding us, they were building a tower with a similar shape and size, but the devices were having to be surface mounted rather than being integrated into the tower like you see here. The other issue Butterfly was having was quality, not just with fabrication, but also with the design. The old tower had exposed bolts and screws. Our tower is mounted from the inside, resulting in a very clean and professional finished look. This project has been in the works for about 2 months now, and we've seen an incredible response from it so far. We also work with other manufacturers to create better ways to mount their devices in non-wall settings. You may have seen the announcement from Access Communications about these 4 popular solutions, but we're also part of HID's partner program and have been providing specific solutions for others such as AWID, APhone, Control4, Stentaphone, and we continue to expand with others as well. Hopefully, with what we've presented to you today, you can see how we can help you conquer the challenges that pedestal applications bring to the industry. Pedestal Pro wants to be the solution partner you choose in all of these situations. And with that, I'll turn the time back over to Pike.
Thank you, Zach. So please remember that we're committed to helping you capture this part of the sale. I mean, believe it or not, pedestals is a multi-million-dollar business, and you need a partner who can help you deliver on the opportunities. We want to be your first choice. If you need any more information, you can email me or Glenn, and if you haven't already received one, ask us for one of our excellent 6-page brochures that will give you a great overview of the products and services that we've disclosed to you today. We appreciate your time. With that, we turn the time back over to Julie to see if there's any questions. Julie?
Thanks, Pike. I actually do have a few questions that came up here. First one, how long has Pedestal Pro been around?
We've been around for 15 years. The story is like many others throughout the U.S. We started in a little garage, and we have escalated our manufacturing abilities out to a 20,000 square foot brand new building just this past year, and we're having a blast helping people. So we've been around for about 15 years.
Fantastic. Can you give us an idea of what an integrator might expect for an average pedestal sale in terms of revenue?
Yeah, let me give you a couple different tiers. An average sale for us on the lower end is around $800. If we add a little bit of margin on top of that, that means for the installer it's probably going to be about $1,200. On the custom side, we see typical custom sales coming through at about $3,500, and so with the markup from the installer, they're going to be closer to somewhere between $5,000 to $5,500. But there's, like Zach mentioned, there's much larger deals out there too. There tends to be many small sales, but all you need to do is land a few really good ones throughout the year, and it doesn't take long to get to that $50,000 level, or even $100,000 level. We have several installers around the country doing that. These are installers who are asking the questions, where are we going to get these pedestals? And they're identifying those opportunities early. They work with us early, and with all the services that we have that we provide free of charge with no commitment, make it very easy, they end up landing those larger sales. But hopefully that's an answer to your question.
Thank you. One more question. Does Pedestal Pro have any other industry relationships that might be helpful to the PSA network?
All right, that's a good question. As we mentioned before, we've recently announced our relationship with Access Communications and HID. We are doing some things with Butterfly, although that's not that hasn't gone out by press release yet. It should be coming out soon. We are working with about another half a dozen large industry players that your group will recognize. We're not ready to disclose those yet because we need to wait for the right timing, but we are working with about a half a dozen right now, and we're growing quite quickly, and they're very happy with our work. Hopefully that's an answer to your question.
I think so. And thank you. This has been a very informative webinar today. And that looks like that is all the questions that we have today. But if you all would like to review this presentation again or would like to pass it along, we will have a recorded version of it posted on our website soon. Thank you very much to Pike Goss. Pike's contact information is posted here if you have any questions after today's presentation. Please visit our website, it's psasecurity.com, to be sure that you're leveraging all that PSA Security Network has to offer. On our homepage, you can access our future webinar events, this recording, educational offerings, and business solutions. This will conclude today's presentation. Thanks again, Pike. I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.